Conscious day to every single one of you. Welcome to Lead with Intentions, where every single week, Ambereen Hameed, your coach, shows up here ready to serve. It's truly an honor to cross paths with you. And I want you to know that I appreciate you so very much as you're prioritizing yourself and giving us the most important commodity in the entire world, which is your time. Welcome to Spanglish, Spanglish Radio Network, World Network, and Zingo TV channels 250 and 251. Please remember to download that application. It's available across iOS, Android, the whole Roku lineup, Amazon Fire, all that good stuff. Any smart TV 2016 on forward, alongside with the Chromecast devices as well. When you're downloading this application, please take a moment, rate us, give us a review, let us know what we're doing well, and the most important thing, what we can do better to make your experience an exceptionally amazing one. As always, this app is completely free to you. So go ahead, install it, and you can even engage with us, message us while you're watching through the app. Today's guest is no exception to a person who really does lead with intentions. I met her randomly, but nothing, is by coincidence from the way that I believe it to be. And she's somebody who showed up to be very conscious, kind of like today's intention. Shahana Khundmiri is a devoted mother of 4. I love that kind of stuff. A certified yoga instructor, a chemical engineer from Georgia Tech, working as a technical product owner at a healthcare company. She's also co-founder of this amazing brand called Shahane with her sister, Shereen. I saw their bond and it is amazing. I love, love, love watching it. Her greatest passion, raising her little human beings, her children, with love, loving inspiration, positive change, so that way they can become the positive change in this world. There's a lot of stuff that she does, a lot of things that she's launched. We're going to dive into all that good stuff as we continue the conversation. Welcome to the show, Shahana.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really feel blessed.
Truly an honor to actually have you on board, because I want to learn more of your story. I know bits and pieces, but it's always great to kind of bring somebody on and have them mention to us what it is, that they do, that they love, how they've become who they are. And today, my first question to you, Shahana, is tell us something about you. Who are you, and what is it that you do?
As you mentioned, I am a mother of 4, and I am just in a journey of life to leave the world better than I found it, as much as I can, by intention, by growth, by helping people, by helping myself become the best person that I can be. Because I feel like we all are here for a purpose. Allah has brought us here on this earth to journey through experience, and I want to enjoy every bit of it. So.
All right. So that kind of already puts us on the page of living intentionally. You said that God or Allah puts us on this planet with a purpose to kind of live into that journey. Have you been able to tap into what that is for you?
Yeah, I think it changes throughout our lives, right? As we grow up, I think throughout our lives, we have different journeys, different experiences, and different moments in our life that, kind of mold who we become. So right now, I think it's raising my children and giving back to the community. I also volunteer at ICNA Relief as a mentor. I also heavily involved with D41, like the district that my children go to school in, to make sure the educational, system is catching up to all the different culture needs and different diversities, different family demographics. So I heavily get myself involved in community and anywhere I can to make sure that I bring that voice. A lot of times I feel that a lot of people have a lot of great ideas and they just don't want to speak up. And I find comfort in speaking up. So then I kind of take those advices and ideas and kind of make sure that they get to the ears that they need to get to bring out the change that we need in our world today.
Okay. And because I think what you're saying is completely true. Many of us do really want or have ideas and have insights or opinions, but most of us don't really take that into action. You said something profound, and I don't know if you caught yourself saying that, is I find comfort in bringing my voice and speaking up. which most people find to be very uncomfortable. So let's dive in there. How did you get to make it something that's comforting for you?
I think it was just that I noticed that we all have ideas, right? And many times, even at work, I would have ideas, but I wouldn't speak up. I would actually write it on a piece of paper and pass it over to my boss, and then she would speak up or take credit for it. And I was like, that's kind of not fair. You know what I mean? But I was like, it seemed like it was a profound question that I think everybody else had. They just didn't speak up about it either. And so then I decided that I would just say it, right? Because I think that if I have that question, I think that at least another one or two person have that question in the room and they want it answered. So it wasn't even just about getting credit, but it was also like if I didn't ask that question, that answer would never come up. That answer would be hidden and we would be straight in different ways because we didn't have the answer we needed in order to make that product or process or livelihood, right? Or whatever it is, that moment in life that we needed to do, because we didn't have those answers. So I wanted to be the voice to be able to, like, not be afraid and kind of show that example, not only to others, my children and myself, to be like, it's okay. Like sometimes we'll ask questions that maybe people have answers to and I'm the only one. But most of the time, there's at least one or two other people. And if I can help out those other two people in getting those answers that I was too afraid to ask, I kind of just practiced and just kept getting better at it. And then I was like, this is pretty cool because it was started off with like the credit was the reason I kind of wanted to step up. But then it ended up becoming, no, these are valuable answers that I think, even in our culture, right? As women, we were kind of raised, at least back then, to, don't ask too many questions, go with the flow. But if we don't have those answers, then how do we know what our rights are, what we can do and what we should be doing?
I think that's so profound. Like, I think a lot of times you're saying exactly the right things. Like, we all have thoughts, but most of us don't act upon that. And if you could just, you said if I can help one or two people, whereas I would say it's a more common theme than what we recognize it to be. And I think that's where
Mhm.
the beauty is. However, it's that the adding value element of it that I'm hearing. But more than that, kind of going back to what you said, is I help out in the school to bring that cultural knowledge or those cultural changes into, just to bring that into awareness of other people. Now, you said that, being raised or how we were raised, to not speak up, to not ask too many questions, to just kind of be a girl. And I already know what the dot, dot, dot is. Now, being a mother, how have you shifted that narrative for your own children that you're now nurturing and caring for?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest steps that I've taken was as getting a divorce, right? And I think the moment I realized why I did it was when an auntie asked me, like, she's like, "You have three kids. Like, how could you um, get a divorce? Like, why didn't you stick it out for the kids?" And at that moment is when I realized I actually did it for my kids. And I wanted them to know that as a woman, we have rights, right? And getting a divorce is a right that I can exercise if I'm unhappy, if I'm in a place where I'm not being able to be myself, right? I wanted my children to have an example of a marriage that was beautiful and good. And I didn't want them to be raised in a home where marriage wasn't something they would grow up to be like, yeah, that's what I want to do when I grow up. You know what I mean? So, things like that I practice with my kids. Like, I mean, I'm open with them and why I got a divorce and how we have rights as women and how to take action and speak up. And I take them to board meetings when I go. I show them how I'm speaking up. And and a lot of times, of course, especially kids as they get older, they're kind of like, "Mama, don't say that." you know but I tell them, I said, "Listen, I'm a grown woman, and all my life, like, I had a father who would tell me what to do or what to say, or a mother and a brother, and then my husband. And this is a time in my life where I want to speak up because I have ideas, and I feel like, even if it sounds not perfect to everybody else, but it's something important to me, right? And I want to share, and I want to be able to express myself. So I do it by example with my kids. I kind of lead them by example, show them how,
Mm.
I'm afraid, I'm nervous, but I still do it. And that's what courage is. It's not being afraid. Like, I get nervous, speaking up. And I know sometimes, like even at the masjid, I spoke up and my voice was all shaking. So I do get nervous, but I push through it. And I feel like, okay, that was shaky, but I got my point across. Next time I'm going to try to practice more. And the more I do it, the better I'll get at it. But if I'll never try, I'll never get better at it. And so, yeah, fear is always there, but I keep pushing through and show that and share that with my children by example.
I think that's remarkable because I think courage is something that most people think we just have, right? But as a coach, I know that courage is something that you have to summon. Like you have to demonstrate courage. It's not something that you can sit with and be like, oh yeah, it's inside my heart, I'll action it when I get there. And I love the vulnerability of saying, you know what, my voice was shaking at the mosque. It was kind of just like, but I still went through and I showed my kids it's okay to have that fear, but go, kind of charging forth is the most important thing. Now, however much you want to dive into this, you can and you cannot, because we've got a lot of audience members who are listening, and I'm so grateful for every single one of you who show up here ready to listen and to take notes and to do some good with the conversation that we're having today. Is you said that you wanted to show your children a healthy marriage. Now, what was happening in that home where you realized against all the odds of the cultural norms that this action would actually be a better example for your children?
I was unhappy, and I think that me and my ex-husband, we were raised differently. We were raised in different countries. He was from India. I was born and raised here. Our mindsets were different. The way we wanted to raise our children was different. So there was a lot of differences between us. And I know that opposites attract. That's what they say. But there's got to be some ground of like having the same goals in life, and a lot of different. Um, uh, the freedom to kind of support each other, and those things were kind of missing in our marriage. And I felt like I tried and tried and tried, and I stayed in the marriage for 12 years. So it wasn't that I didn't try, but God just kept giving me examples of reasons why I needed to leave. And so I just kind of, and it's funny because I feel like a lot of women, will say that this is happening in my marriage and I'm not happy and I'm not this and that, and they'll have clues after clues on reasons why they should leave, but they keep going back to, no, I can't because that would harm my parents, or that's not accepted in our culture, or um, what will people say, and how will my children end up? Like there's so many questions. But then if you go look and learn our religion, it it gives us the right to divorce. And why would it do that if it was forbidden? And it's not forbidden. So I took upon all the clues and the persistent messages God would keep sending me that, hey, this is not for you. You need to, leave and show this as an example, because this is not what you want your kids to view and see. You want them to see a healthy relationship, and maybe it won't be in your home, but at least they'll see it elsewhere. But if it's in the home, it's like directly, and it's generational trauma, and it could cause so many different things, that I just wanted to break that. And I wanted to, and it's funny because initially when I wanted to get a divorce, it was before I even had any kids. And yeah, I wanted to get a divorce, and I had told a family member that I wanted to get a divorce and that I had already filed. And they came back and said, oh, well, what's going on? Let me help you. And, in marriage, you don't want to share what's going on with other people. So you don't
Mm-hmm.
say everything that happens. But I feel like a lot of times women aren't trusted on the choices they make. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, you think you need a divorce, but is it really what you need? Maybe you just need my help and advice. Maybe you're misguided. But I don't think I've seen any woman just wake up and be like, you know what? I want a divorce today because I just feel like it. Like
Yes.
they've thought about it. They've, suffered. They've tried. And they've gotten to a point where like, I'm done. I can't. Right. But I think society doesn't want to accept that. And I think that women a lot of times don't get the credit of, hey, we're knowledgeable adults that can make
Mm-hmm.
choices. And when we make a choice and we tell you the decision we've made, we're not asking for you to help us make, a better choice. We're asking, for you to support us. And if we ask for any kind of help, like say, like next time I say that, if someone says, hey, I'm getting a divorce, okay, well, you know what? Let me know how I can be of any help. Like that could be
Mm-hmm.
a statement and period. And if they reach out, that's fine. But don't try to fix a marriage, because if the woman has gotten to that point and she doesn't want to share more, like there's a reason. And so now, you know, three kids later, I get a divorce, and then, you know, and now I've drugged my children into a divorce, right? So I mean, but I mean, I don't regret anything except for being able to make the decision and be stronger and more confident in my decisions, which is things I've learned throughout my life, and done it earlier. But otherwise, yeah, I think that I'm in such a much better place. I think my children are a much better place than they would have been. Um, and the process of divorce really taught me a lot, because it wasn't fun. It was like over 2-3 years that it took for us to actually get the divorce. So nasty court, you know, decisions, and the lawyers and the just people around you, they don't give you great advice, to him or you, right? They're always pitting you against each other, dragging this stuff along. And finally, the way we wrapped it up was I decided to write down what I wanted in life, right? What was my goal? Forget the properties, forget the money, forget custody battles, right? Like, what is my vision of what I want my life to be like? Why am I getting this divorce? And I wrote it down, and it was simple. It was, I just wanted to be happy, feel safe, have my kids be happy, feel safe, and feel the freedom of just being able to make my own choices. And that just simplified it so much that I left the court with no child support, no property, nothing, and just walked out free. And I don't regret it one bit, because the battle it was causing and the tension it was causing between me and their father was not worth it. Because now it was still dripping down to our kids, right? When they would go see him, he wouldn't be happy. I would be frustrated. He would be frustrated. So we weren't really gaining anything by like chasing these worldly things, right? So I was like, you know what? If he's at peace, I'm at peace. We can raise our children to be the best that they can be, right? We can be in a co-parenting environment where we're coming from a calm, happy, good place, and be available and present for our children. And that was, I think, the best decision I've ever made.
Gotta commend you. I mean, for those of you who are here and kind of listening to the subtle wisdom drops, kind of like follow those breadcrumbs, because it is true. When we make it about us, when it's like this, the ego comes into play, like, and then it is true. People will kind of make you go against each other about certain things, right? Like, oh, why does he get 60% of the house? You should get 60%. You should get 40%. Like, no one's going to come to you and say, just stop. What do you want? Like, what does your heart desire? So I think often, I've gone through a lot in my own life and kind of can relate to you exactly what you're saying. I went through a divorce with 3 kids. And for me, from the get-go, I was like, I only got one vision. That's it. There's one vision, and everything besides that does not matter. And I got shot the opposite way of you, where it's like, you're an idiot. You're not setting yourself up for success. Your kids are going to miserably place. And all of that stuff is later, right? And God has a plan, and you kind of watch the magic unfold, and you're like, huh, that was pretty easy. Like, for me, it wasn't 2 to 3 years. For me, I've never gone inside a courtroom. I don't even know what a courtroom looks like that. And I think it's that beauty of knowing what the end result is. Like, what are you chasing? And I love the fact that you brought, the vision of simplifying what it was that you wanted, not only for yourself, but for your 3 kids at that time, and then letting everything else kind of watch and fall into play. How did you think the kids, because there are many individuals that are listening right now who are either contemplating a divorce or thinking of, that we're already getting a divorce and this is such a rough place we're going to be, and it's going to be like this forever. Now, you said that initially, before the kids, you were like, yeah, I filed. This is not the way I want life to go. What was it that kind of made you go from there to then 3 kids later? And how did you find the capacity to kind of rinse, recycle, repeat every single day, knowing that you were not doing something that was pleasing to your heart?
Yeah, it was a blur, right? Because once you have kids, like you get busy with the kids, right? And you're just focusing on them and giving as women. That mean we provide for our husbands, we provide for our kids. So there was no time for me to think about, okay, how do I feel? How do I, fit into all of this? It was just me. Am I serving? Am I serving? Am I serving? So I kind of just went through it. And I would try to focus on the good things, but again, time and time again, things would come up, and I would be realize that this is not the place for me to be. And so I think it was just knowing that uh, I had to do it for my kids. Not, I was unhappy. He was unhappy, right? I did it for, like, I think I did it for all of us, right? Because I think being in a home where nobody is happy is not a place for anybody to be. Anybody to be, not even pets, right? So, I mean, we're human beings and we just can't be in that energy. And I really believe in energy and how you're like the fifth person of who you hang out with, right? If you're with four miserable people, you're going to be the fifth miserable one, right? So it was that concept where I was just like, I can't continue to be in this looking like a picture perfect place where we're all just not where we need to be. And I needed to make those choices for my kids to be in a better place, to be able to raise them the way I feel like is the right, environment for them and the choices that I wanted to make. So yeah, I just kind of went through it, and it was like once I went back, it was just like, okay, I got to stay here, right? And then kind of struggle through, and I was raised to just keep quiet, do what you need to do, keep quiet, do what you need to do. But then when I held my kids, I was like, I would not want my children to live this life, and I would not want them to think that this was okay to live, right? And so those were the things that kind of made me wake up and realize, like, no, like I need to set the example of, if you are not happy somewhere, God has given you that right, as much as water and food, to leave that situation and build another life for yourself.
Hmm. Let's kind of get into that. Let's kind of find out how was it that you rebuilt your life? Because it does seem like there was a loss of job, which was another pivotal moment in the shaping of this brilliant and amazing person that sits amongst all of us.
Yeah. So I finalized my divorce around May, and then 2 or 3 months later, my father dies. Well, actually, I lost my job, and the next day, my father passes away. So, literally within 3 months, I had finalized my divorce and found maybe peace for those 2 months, but it was still like a struggle because I had given up everything. And then I lost my job, and the next day, my dad passes away, and boom, boom, boom. I was put in a rut, right? Depression, anxiety, like just the losses and combined losses was a struggle for me. And I think that it gave me such an insight of what people go through when they get into a dark place, into depression, and struggling to come out, moving, getting up off the couch, getting out of bed, taking showers. Simple things become so hard to do. But it gave me such an insight of the struggles. And that's one of the reasons I do volunteer at ICNA Relief, and I do volunteer at the school systems and want to give back, is because, again, there's not a voice for that dark place, right? And a lot of people don't want to share and don't understand it, or don't know how to navigate, or don't know how to help people in those spaces. And I feel like I want to be able to bring those insights in, and how little things become big, huge struggles. um, and kind of just wanted to do better. And so, yeah, like throughout the years, I had to learn how to do things for myself, right? Example, like cook a meal for myself, right? I cooked for my husband what he likes. I cook for my kids what they like, and sometimes I'll
Love
sit at
that.
the table. And one of the first times I ever cooked something for myself, my kids were like, "Nobody likes this. Why'd you make it?" And I'm like, "I like it." I was like,
Like, my chef
craving
likes
this
it.
for
Okay.
years. Yeah, I was like, I've been craving this for years, and I've never made it because nobody likes it. And I always make food that you guys like that might not be my favorite, but I eat it. So, just enjoy it with me. But it was a simple thing. And then it was a question that I would ask women, like, when's the last time you cooked something that you liked for you, and had it not for just yourself, but like had everybody feed, not like just make, oh, I felt like this sandwich, but I made the sandwich, but I made everything else for everybody. Like, no, have everybody own what you like too. When's the last time you did that?
Oh, girl, I do it all the time now.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
so
my kids are
cool.
like, "You're gonna make us into vegetarians." I'm like, "Great." just become vegetarians with me today. Like it doesn't matter. Yes. And I think that's something
Yeah.
that I also learned in my divorce is you're right to say that as women, we're raised, especially in the culture that we grew up in, and that's the South Asian and the Middle Eastern culture, that as a woman, you are everything. You are your roles. You are
Yeah.
the giver. You're the, you're the support. You're the service. You're just like the person who knows all the insights. Now everyone's going what they're going through, but the person that gets lost is, is that soul who's like, "Hello, can I get a little bit of attention?" You're like, "Not right now. I'm not cooking your food. I'm not doing anything that you want." There's a whole list for me to go through. So I think that what you're saying is so beautiful, and I really want people who are listening to realize that you don't have to go through a loss to
Yeah.
do the small things that make you happy. So, what would you tell people to start doing a little bit more of to really fill their cup and just, man, be lit on on happiness?
Yeah, just the little things just add up. It's like, getting a jar. Like you think it's a big empty jar, but then just keep adding little things at a time. It fills you up and it just changes your mindset. It makes you present. That was another thing when I lost my dad. It was an example of like just being present and mindful of what I was doing reduced my mistakes. I would make better choices. I would make better decisions on what I was going to do because I was in the moment and was clearly seeing the 360 picture. Because before I was so anxious, so tired, so depressed that I couldn't see the clear picture and I would just do whatever was easiest. But then when I would be able to be present, it helped me to realize, no, like there's 20 ways to do something wrong, but there's 99 ways to do something right. And I don't have to pick one that I don't like. I can pick any of the 99 that appeases me and it'll be a right good choice and be happy with it. And then the other thing is learning about confidence too, right? Like making a choice and being okay to be wrong. That was another thing I had to learn outside of my marriage because a lot of times, like as a single parent, I'm like, what do I do? Right? Situations come up and I'm like, oh my God, am I messing up my kids? Am I making the wrong choices? And then I realize that, you know what, I am going to mess up and I'm going to make wrong choices, but I'll learn from them. Right. And then I'll grow from them and I'll correct them. I apologize to my kids all the time when I make mistakes. I'm like, hey, that was a bad idea, bad choice. But at the moment when I thought it was right, that's the choice I made. But I've learned this, this, and this. And so I also help them learn the lessons that I've learned so they don't have to, as you said, go through a loss to learn those things. And it's one of the things that me and my sister are doing through our business is Chai Canvas Chi is helping people fill their own cup, right? And to help them learn these lessons that I've learned through huge losses that they don't need to have a loss to learn or to exemplify, because there were simple things that I could have been taught when we were raised, but I wasn't, because of the cultural differences and just being all over the place, right? Being in America, but also feeling like you're not from America, right? And having to hold on to your culture and religion and just all the different things. Like those were the focuses that we were on, but it wasn't on how we can have confidence as women, how we can make choices and it's okay to make
Mm,
mistakes, how we can fill our own cup and do little things that would add up and make us feel better. We make so much better decisions when we're in a good mood and calm and collective than we are when we're stressed out. And we don't, as women, we don't get enough help, right? We were raising kids, we're cooking and cleaning, we're doing jobs, and we don't get that peaceful moment. And we're hoping that through Chai Canvas Chi, we can bring that to the audience, a place where women can come, relax, enjoy, refill their cup, learn a couple of lessons from each other. And we're planning to have one in January, which it's
oh,
called Omnigenesis. So it's like the origin, like going back to who you were and finding that me, like Shahana as a child, what did I really want for myself? How did I envision my life to be? And what's missing? And how can I bring that back into my life? So, yeah, we're really excited about bringing that to the community for sure.
okay, so we've talked a little bit about, you kind of mentioned that you and your sister, I know you guys are on an expedition and the goals are ginormous, and I have no doubt that you two will accomplish that and some and a lot more. I mean, I want to ask you, what is it that people can expect when they come to Shy Canvas Sheet? Like, what is there about? It does seem like a little bit of self-development, empowerment, good vibes, positivity, and kind of reflection. But what would that experience be like in January?
Yeah, so chai canvas tea. The reason we picked the title was because we have chai. We are actually this is the bottle that we have for saffron bloom. It's a saffron infused rose water, but we also sell tea that's called saffron bloom tea. So it's an infusion of saffron, rose, and tea, and it brings this calmness, right? It's this aroma, this calmness that brings you able to like see life clearly and feel. And I think chai is a moment where we have conversations. We have a moment to ourselves, or we have a moment with an intimate friend or family member, right? So it's a place where we're going to have enjoy a warm cup of tea full of aroma and bring that calmness from within and from the outside, right? By having um, a group of you know a woman who have empowerment and want to be there to better themselves.
Mm.
Canvas is basically a blank canvas, right? My sister is amazing at art. She knows how to do almost all the art techniques you can imagine, and
Mm.
we want to be able to provide different types of areas where people can grow, for whether it's painting or creating different crafts, but also canvas as ourselves, right, as our own soul and body, to make sure that we can bring the colors out of ourselves that we've been wanting to, that we've been held back, or we haven't been able to even explore and come out. And that the chi is the yoga element. I am a certified yoga instructor, and so we're going to have a little bit of yoga in there to help people learn how to navigate when they get anxious, when they get depressed, or when they have a body ache, because a lot of times our mind, body, and soul are connected. And if you have pain in your body, it's probably because there's somewhere pain in your soul. And so by working it physically, it also releases it emotionally. And vice versa. When you have emotional issues, it kind of transfers over to your body. And so if you calm yourself with breath work or, yoga, it helps you navigate those emotions and release them out of your body. I've had people where I do yoga with, and when they're just laying flat, their legs will shake, and that's trauma leaving their body, right? It's new connections being made in the neuro part of their body. So it's the whole experience of conversation, realization, and learning tools and techniques to better navigate this world.
I think that's brilliant. I think it is so very much needed. And I think for women, it kind of normalizes the fact that you're taking some time out for you and, preparing to say, these are responsibilities. I'm going to hand them off. Kind of asking for that help that we're encouraged not to do, right? Especially in our culture, to say, you know what, this little moment here, with me sipping on some chai, with me having conversations, with me just healing my own self and realizing that I get to recreate, rediscover all of me. And I really want to kind of go back to that one point that we talked about a little bit about you finalizing your divorce 2 months later, you losing your job, and then, your father the following day. And you said, anxiety and depression, it became something that's real. And when I look at the stats, it really like I become saddened by them. When I see that depression and anxiety is a number one thing here we're facing in the US. So how did you get yourself out? If someone is listening right now, and they know someone who is going through the same phase that you went through, or somebody that's going through by themselves, how could you support them to say that there is hope, and yeah, that darkness, that shadow work will actually bring some light, but we have to believe.
Yeah, yeah. I think the beauty of it is not to fight it and to kind of just experience it, right? To notice it as an observer instead of like letting it, because it does suck you in, right? And you're in that depression and you're thinking all sorts of thoughts. But kind of just watch yourself, right? Just I was big on diary. I carry it and write in it all the time. My sister actually designed this. She makes beautiful notebooks. But yeah, I love writing and journaling. I think journaling is a great way to kind of get your thoughts out. Um, and and if you don't like writing, I would say record yourself in a voice, but somehow to get that dialogue out into a written form or an audio form really helps, because then you become an observer and you have it outside of you instead of eating away in the inside of you. And it's just profound. It seems simple, but I think it did a very big, it's very helpful to get it out
Mm.
somehow. Another thing is to talk to a friend or a family member, and I know that's sometimes hard, especially when you're in a dark place and you don't want to share, but find the courage to do that, because that is really helpful. Just, I had a friend that was always available, and I would call her and I would just talk, and she would always just make me feel better. So even if you don't even have to talk about the depression, if you don't, if you're not ready for it, but just talking to someone, because sometimes you get secluded and you want to be alone. Um, but having that human interaction is so important, because it helps you kind of get out of that rut. My sister was one, the best and most supportive of me throughout the whole time. She took care of everything for me in so many ways, which, it was a blessing. And, unfortunately, not everybody has that. But if you do, guilt comes in, shame comes in a lot of times, right? You're like, oh, like I'm not able to do things for myself, and this person's always helping me. And like I feel like, eternally grateful and indebted to her. But it's okay, right? Because it's God giving us that support system, right? And I think a lot of
Mm.
people sometimes back away and say, oh, I shouldn't, or no, I'm taking too much or whatever. But you have to somehow accept it, because you wouldn't be in that position if God didn't want you to find something from it, or or to be in it. And he'll come through. He'll come through in the best times, and it's when you finally kind of just accept it and like say that, people are I am surrounded by people who love me, although sometimes it feels lonely. But if you really look and understand it, you have people you are surrounded by people that can help you, that are there for you to support, accept it, embrace it. As women, we again, it's hard for us to take, because we're always giving, and that guilt of taking is, very real. But you have to learn to take, and I think that's what Allah wants you to do at that point is, hey, accept what's coming towards you, and don't say no, because it's coming from somewhere, right? And more than likely it's from God, who's trying to give you something as a gift, a time for you to relax. Like I lost my job, but then it gave me so much time with my kids to be there present with them, right? Instead of running around, because I used to work in downtown 3 hours back and forth, right? And then I would be gone for 12 hours a day, come home, still have to cook, still have to clean, still have to take care of the homework, make sure they get everything. They've got extracurricular activities. Like it was a lot, and they were small. So I think that is unfortunate. I lost my job, and I tried so hard trying to get it, and it was rejection after rejection after rejection, and I just didn't understand why. And then until I was just like, you know what? I started going into interviews saying, God, like I'm gonna put my 100%, 100, 200%, like how much I need it, how much I want this, you know, if it's best for me, give it. And sometimes I still wouldn't get it. Right. So then I would be like, I would look at, and it would be a full moon at times. And I remember one time it was like a full moon. I was like, God, I know you have something better for me, because like
Mm.
this can't be just by a mistake. This can't be something that's bad that's happening to me. Like you have, like I've got chills thinking about it, like literally bumps, but you
Aw.
have better plans for me. And I know it, because I'm putting my heart and effort, and I'm ready for whatever it is that you're out there, wanting me to have and experience. And it was just so amazing to like enjoy that time with my kids and be able to support them and emotionally. Cause I mean, again, right, we went through a divorce. It wasn't just me, it's the kids too. And they go through a lot of different emotions and cycles. And there's a lot to deal with. So I feel like it was a blessing for me to be able to be available and there for them in those moment of times when they needed me most. So I think that yeah, every situation seems like it's a depressing, punishment, but it's actually, if you look at it, there's a blessing in it. And once we recognize that blessing, you start to recognize that it's always coming. Like God's always has been given me, and I've just not been able to see it because. And I tell my daughter this, like it's like being in a dark room with glow in the dark items, right? You can only see the things that are glowing in dark. And usually those are the negative things, right? Like that's what it feels like being in a depressive mode. It's like you can't see anything but the glowing objects that just say loser, worthless,
Mm.
um, you know,
Yeah.
shame, all the negative things, right? But once you open the light and you see that the room is filled with hundreds of things that are like blessings of God. And you can't even see the glow in the dark items anymore. Like they're just kind of just there, hidden behind all the other things. Like they're still there. They haven't moved, but you can't see them anymore. You start noticing, beautiful things around you and you're like, "Oh,
Mm.
I never noticed that before." But that's what I would describe depression as, is you just got to find that light switch, right, and just turn it on and start looking at different things around you and focusing on those items, and then it starts getting easier and better. And it's a practice, right? Just like you get practice in seeing the negative things, you have to practice again to go back to the positive things in life. So yeah.
Indeed, it's all about perspective, right? I think that's what we discover is when we go through those struggles and those hardships and we get those little nudges and we're not really changing our perspective because it just seems like it's a lot of work or we don't have the energy for it. And as you were talking, I felt your energy. I felt you saying that, God, I know you have something better for me. I know this is not it. And I know that I'm here in this place for a reason. What did you find at that time when when you were going through jobs after jobs and not really landing a position to what was that pivotal point where you were like, oh, this is a lesson I was supposed to learn, and then you were able to get that job?
I think it was listening to my gut. So the funniest story, I was driving to my sister's house, and again, I was just like, okay, like I need a job, like I need income, I need something to happen. And I called like literally 5 to 6 people on my phone, driving. There's like a
Mm.
30-minute drive. Nobody answered. And I'm like crying in the car, going, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just feeling depressed and whatever. And I was like, you know what, God, you have to have, you have a better plan for me. You know what I need. You know uh, what I, yeah, you know what I need. So help me get there. Right. And so like, and then in the silence, right? And I think that's my biggest lesson, is all the answers are in silence, right? It comes to me to go reach out to this one person out of nowhere. Like I'm like, oh, I should probably reach out to this person again. Like I've reached out to the person before and it didn't work out, but like just reach out one more time, see if there's anything out there. And boom, boom, boom. And then and there's another side to the story, but boom, boom, boom. Within like a week, I got an offer. Within a week, I got an offer,
Woohoo! I
right?
believe
Just
you.
because nobody picked up the phone. I'm crying and talking to God. And it just came to me, that idea. And what I found is that when you focus on the things you want in life, you create that connection with God, it pours. And
Mm.
another example or part of the story was my son's birthday was coming up. And I said, Bubba, what do you want for your birthday? And he goes, Mama, I want you to get a job. Because he knew that I was struggling. And I share my struggles with my kids because I'm like, you know what? These are life examples that will happen, right? Whether it's to them or their family members, they need to know the real struggles in life, right? And a lot of times I would protect them. But there's certain things where I'm just like, you know what? This is a part of life. You'll lose jobs. You need to find them.
Mm.
Let them know, hey, I don't feel great today because I'm kind of off, so that they can support me in the emotional ways that I need. But he said, I want you to get a job, and I was like, oh, God, like kind of embarrassed, right? I'm like, okay. So I look him in the eye. I said, no, Baba, like anything else, like besides a job? Okay, fine. You wanted me to get a job, but is there anything else that you want for? He looked me in the eye. He goes, no, Mama, I want you to get a job. And at that
Wow.
moment, I paused and I looked deep in his eyes and I told God, I said, God, like, fulfill his dream, right? He wants me to get a job. Allow me to give that to him. And it was just that moment, right? And it
Mm.
was just like, it felt like a good, 30 minutes being in that moment, but it was like probably 3 seconds, right? But I was so intensely in that moment of like connecting with God and saying, this is what, to do this. And do you know the day I got my offer? On his birthday.
Birthday.
On his birthday, I got the call to say, you got the job. Like, it was, again, I'm getting chills. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, I think the whole process of everything that I went through is to teach me that I need to take that moment to connect with my source, my God, and
Mm.
to be able to ask him in the most genuine way and purify my intentions. Because sometimes I'll ask for things, and ego gets in a way, or whatever gets in the way. But like, when I connect with him, it kind of cleanses the item that I'm asking for. And maybe it's the same thing, but it focuses on the intention, and makes me understand why I need it, what it's for, and how I can achieve it. There's so many ways that I have, as they call, manifested things like that. And I think that was the biggest lesson that I've gotten in all these hardships, was how beautifully we can just manifest just by connecting to God for that moment. I mean, I got a van that way. I got, I mean, there's so many different stories that I can go through, because like my car was about to die. I kept getting a flat tire. I just kept filling up the air, because I was just like, okay, I don't have money to go buy another tire. And then one time it just went completely flat and I could not fill it. And again, full moon, I look up into the sky. I'm like, God, I know you've got better plans for me on this. Like, I don't know what else to do. And then I got a van immediately, like 2 days after that. So it's amazing how, when we just connect for that moment, how much God just like hands it to you. But you just have to have that faith and that intention clarified, and you can almost achieve anything. And I want to help the world get that clarification. Um, and then there's so many things I've learned, just hindsight, about my marriage too, of things that I could have done better. Like, I'm not perfect, right? And I could have done better.
Mhm.
And not having a job, that gave me a very profound perception of what men go through as being the sole provider, the weight it brings. Like, I didn't realize how heavy that can be, because you're like, okay, if I don't provide, like, how are my kids going to eat? Right. So that
Mhm.
weight, and knowing that so many people come from foreign countries, come to this country, to America to find a job, and they're like, trying to make ends meet. That weight that men carry, I it helped me appreciate that also, and how much they need cheerleaders, how much men actually
Mhm.
need cheerleaders, and as women, we don't do that enough. Whenever they have an idea, we go into like protective mode, and like, oh, maybe that don't won't work well, or that's not a good idea. But men just need a cheerleader, and then that clarifies their intention, and then they make the right choices, whatever it is. So those are the things that kind of learned throughout the process of, I think God wanted me to learn those lessons and help other people navigate life in those ways.
It's so beautiful to see how much serendipity and synergy there is between you and I, right? Like, I am profound at that night sky. The nur is what we call it, right? That pure radiance, that light that that we in Muslims, we believe is God. God is just pure. God is just light. God just gives. God says, literally, like, dial down. There's a reason why you're on earth. Dial down, and I'll show you the way. But you really have to learn to silence not only all the thoughts here, but just come into this existence of knowing that it will work out. And you and I, like, we're literally at the end of the show. We can talk, Polly, like, we don't even need
Forever.
time. We're just going at it, right? What I want to ask you is, how do people get in touch with you, if they really find your story to be empowering, if they want to give you feedback, if they want to just reach out to you?
Yeah, I have an Instagram handle called Shahane Bloom, which is kind of following my products that we're selling. And this is Saffron Bloom, which is that my handle is Shahane Bloom. But yeah, you can reach me there, DM me if you need anything, if you have any questions, and if you're interested in buying these products. This is like one of my favorite. I've been using this for over 25 years, and that's why I started sharing it with the world. It's just a saffron mist that kind of just refreshes you, and it has this aroma and that calming manner, and it's also amazing for skin and hair. So I use it all the time, and it's one of the things that I felt like I need to share with the world, because it's just brought me so much happiness and so much health in my skin and my hair that I wanted to share with the world.
Wonderful. All right. So now on the show, we've got this tradition that we do an intentional wrap up. The rapid fire questions I'll ask you, and then we will cue it to kind of the end of the show. Ready for it?
Sure.
All right. What do you want to leave behind for the world?
Transformative lessons, right? Things that people can use in their daily lives that will continue to make the world a better place to live.
Amen. How will you know that you've led an intentional life?
By staying connected to God, right? Every intention is for me to be guided by Him. So if I am taking every step of the way with the intention to stay connected and do better and be better every day, then I think I lived an intentional life.
Wonderful. If you could create one law that everybody had to follow, what would that law be?
Be your authentic self. Everybody had to be their authentic self, right? And then
100%.
everybody has to accept the authentic self and respect it.
But if everyone's authentic, then we're all gonna accept each other as we are, because we're like, oh, I get it. She's being Ambereen, or like she's being Shahana, right?
Absolutely.
There are many things that you've shared with us. You know, what I want to ask you is, what's that one key to a healthy relationship?
Trust.
Okay. And what is one lesson that has made you who you are today?
Yeah, just being connected to God. Again, I have to go back to that. Is when I connect, I am clear.
120% agrees. Well, thank you so much, Shahana, for coming on the show today. I pray that every single one of you has taken something amazing from this. I hope that all of you are able to reach out to Shahana or myself, Coach Ambereen, and let us know. Just drop something like that. We recognize that we are impacting you in a positive way, because, like she said, we want to see a change in this world, leave the world better than we found it. So thank you so very much, Shahana, for coming on today. And for all of you, as you know, this show can be heard on Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all the news and the programming. As we close, you guys know I got to give you a prayer. I pray that this show will embark us on a journey of transformation to really find that there's a pathway to gratitude for all the blessings that we have, to accept the unfoldings of life, and to commit to values which will allow us to tap into our own greatness. As I have tawakkul, that's right, that's faith in every single one of us in our greatness. When we unleash our authenticity, we start to live intentionally. Remember, there's only one of you, one life designed by excellence. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it. Most importantly, live into it and intentionally better serve who you are and becoming. Thank you so much, folks. Till next week.
Bye.